Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.
You're watching South Asia Newsline, and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 21st of January. India likely to boost purchases of US oil and gas after Trump's announcement. Bangladesh calls for constructive talks to ease border tensions with India. And Sri Lanka's inflation drops to -2% in December. And now for all the details. India is likely to increase its purchases of US oil and gas after US President Donald Trump's announcement to maximize US oil and gas production. There is a possibility of more energy purchase between India and US. More US energy coming into the market is welcome. India's oil minister Hardeep Singh Puri told reporters on the sidelines of an event on Tuesday. Trump on Monday said he would immediately declare a national energy emergency, promising to fill up strategic reserves and export American energy all over the world. During his inaugural address, after being sworn in, Trump termed US energy assets as liquid gold that would help the United States be a rich nation again. Refiners in India, which imports over 80% of its oil, have been hit hard by a spike in global oil prices and shipping rates after Washington recently imposed sweeping new sanctions targeting Russian insurers, tankers and oil producers. Puri said there was no shortage of oil in the market. Russian oil accounted for more than a third of India's imports last year, but US sanctions are tightening supply, pushing the buyer back to traditional Middle East sources.
If you were to ask me whether more American energy is going to come onto the market, my answer is yes. If you say there is a possibility of more purchase of energy between India and the US, the answer is yes.
Bangladesh has stressed for dialogue to resolve issues with India following weeks of heightened tensions along the border. According to reports, Bangladesh's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the country firmly believes that any issues should be resolved through constructive dialogue under the framework of existing bilateral agreements to maintain peace along the border. This comes as Dhaka has raised objections to India's fencing project along the border with Indian territory, calling it unauthorized and that it undermined the spirit of bilateral cooperation. New Delhi has conveyed that it has observed all protocols. India has maintained that it remains committed to ensuring crime-free border and to stop illegal migration. Ties have been particularly soured since Muhammad Yunus took charge of the interim government in Bangladesh. There has been tussle over Bangladesh ex-PM Sheikh Hasina, who has taken refuge in India, while Dhaka wants her deportation. Moving on, the degree college in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir is facing a growing threat from land mafia encroachment, disrupting the educational environment. But the authorities have failed to address the issue. A report.
The ground of the degree college in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir's Chinari has become the latest battleground for land mafia. The absence of a boundary wall around the college ground has allowed encroachment by powerful individuals.
तो हमारा जो ग्राउंड है डिग्री कॉलेज चिनारी का, इसका बाउंड्री वाल ना होने की वजह से सैयद मर्दान अली शाह ने कब्जा किया और वहाँ पर नाजायज पिलर लगाए। ना माफिया कब्जा हम मंजूर नहीं करेंगे। लिहाजा ये बच्चे आप देख रहे हैं कि जब तक ये महकमा माल यहाँ पर डीसी और ईसी साहब यहाँ नहीं पहुँचते तो हम ये हड़ताल कभी ख़त्म नहीं कर सकते। लिहाजा ये हमारी आने वाली नस्लों का मुस्तकबिल है। हम भी यहाँ से पढ़कर जाएंगे, किसी ओहदे पर पहुंचेंगे, हमारी आने वाली नस्ल भी यहीं से पढ़ेगी।
The students are adamant in their stance, insisting that the encroachment be dealt with immediately, emphasizing that this is not just about their education, but the future of generations to come.
इस पे कई बार हमने सुना कि इस पे कब्जे हुआ है। ग्राउंड को जो 2-3 फुट कोई ना कोई महल्लेदार या जमींदार वहाँ का उम्मीदवार यानी कि इस ग्राउंड पर कब्जा करता है। लिहाजा 8 फुट का रास्ता ये इंतज़ामिया ने छोड़ा है ये मल्लेदार जो लोग यहाँ पे रहते हैं इनके लिए, और इससे ज़्यादा कब्जा हम होने नहीं देंगे।
Students have expressed frustration over the deteriorating environment at the college, calling for immediate action from the administration to secure the ground and restore a peaceful learning atmosphere.
हमारे कॉलेज का जो माहौल है ना वो बहुत ख़राब है। हमारे कॉलेज का जो ग्राउंड है उसका माहौल बहुत ख़राब है। गाड़ियाँ वगैरह इसी तरह अंदर आती हैं, हमें पढ़ाई में बहुत डिस्टर्बेंस पैदा होती है जी। तो ग्राउंड की हमें चारदीवारी करवा के दें। उसके अलावा ये जो पिलर लगाए हुए हैं लोगों ने, ये गैर मुतल्लिका हैं, तो इनका हमें फैसला करके दें। ये वाले पिलर नहीं लगाने चाहिए इधर।
The situation remains unresolved, with the students continuing their protest until the government intervenes. The future of the college hangs in the balance.
And the Taliban government in Afghanistan announced on Tuesday the release by the United States of an Afghan prisoner in exchange for US detainees, saying the deal was brokered by Qatar. Media reports suggest Americans Ryan Corbett and William McKenty were exchanged for Afghan Taliban member Khan Muhammad, who was convicted in 2008 on narco-terrorism charges. The announcement comes a day after Donald Trump's inauguration as US president, who during his first term in office presided over a deal with the Taliban that paved the way for the US withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021 and their return to power. After Trump's election win in November, the Taliban had said it hoped for a new chapter in ties with the US. The Taliban regime on Tuesday called the exchange a good example of resolving issues through dialogue. And Nepal has jacked up the price of a climbing permit for Everest to $15,000 in the spring season in a bid to streamline mountain tourism, control garbage pollution, and preventing accidents on the world's tallest peak. A permit to climb the Himalayan giant earlier cost $11,000 for a foreigner and ₹75,000 for a Nepali, which will now cost them ₹1.5 lakh. The government had last reviewed the royalty fee in 2015. The new rates will take effect from September. Climbing permits previously valid for 75 days will now also be limited to 55 days to streamline climbing activities. Reports suggest the bookings already confirmed for the spring 2025 expedition will, however, not be affected by this change. As per the amended rules, climbers must also carry biodegradable bags to collect waste and poop in the upper reaches. Climbers have long relied on unsustainable practices which have tarnished the region's natural beauty and created health hazards for local communities. And officials said the new regulations are set to boost garbage management, increase social security for Sherpas, and to boost government revenue. Moving on, Sri Lanka's consumer price inflation dropped to -2% year-on-year in December after easing to -1.7% in November. Official data showed on Tuesday as the country posted a strong rebound from its worst financial crisis in decades. The National Consumer Price Index captures broad retail price inflation and is released with a lag of 21 days every month. Reductions in power tariffs and fuel prices, as well as an appreciating rupee, have helped to reduce inflation, analysts say. Sri Lanka suffered record inflation after its worst financial crisis in decades, triggered by a record fall in dollar reserves pummeled the economy in 2022. The island nation has stabilized since it secured a $2.9 billion bailout from the IMF in March 2023. Taking advantage of low inflation, Sri Lanka's central bank set a new single policy rate of 8% last November, easing monetary settings below previously used benchmarks and setting the stage for a sustained recovery from the crisis. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.
Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.